Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and repentant alike. I am Sophia of the AmaruKhan Band of Indians, and this is a discussion about not just Neptune, but all the planets and how they are used to manipulate the people. I have been talking about this in my videos, and I actually had a already prepared hour-and-a-half video that had no sound. So I am going to record this part first, and then there'll be another part where I go into some other details that are related, but not quite as interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Neptune. Here is a sheet from my up-and-coming... it's going to be called like a personal almanac. So you can chart along with the daily transmutation reports when certain planets are activated in your personal chart, and also what these planets look like. So this is something that I'm still building out. And if you're a member of Patreon, you'll get the pages as they're complete, and then we'll have one for each year. Now, I believe that it's pretty much a good idea to go over this information on a regular basis, because it is a lot of information. It's not common, and people are not talking about this stuff in this manner, in a way that you can actually solve problems. So as you all know, I'm always about how to solve a particular problem, how to come to a particular conclusion. And I've been trying to figure out how they have been manipulating the people, and I couldn't really wrap my mind around it, because it's just sort of outrageous, actually, how they're able to run a few little programs and basically manipulate everyone. And so I assumed that there had to be a system, that this was not done randomly, this was not by accident, but this was a strategy, a quote-unquote matrix that sits on top of the good matrix, right? The one that actually keeps things going in a positive manner, that was allowing these things to go on essentially unchecked, from what I can tell. And so that is what I have discovered. There is a system of how things are done that basically, goes right over, what's already, the system, the righteous system. Let's just put it that way. So we're going to talk a little bit about Neptune first, because that's weird. We're going to talk a little bit about Neptune first, right? So there's some key themes of Neptune in astrology in general. I'm going to cover each planet, maybe not like with this whole sheet and everything, but I'm going to have a sheet, like I said, for each planet. But I'm going to cover each planet, and then I'm going to cover how to interpret it, and then I'm going to give some examples. This shouldn't be too long of a video. So, key themes of Neptune in astrology is that Neptune is often linked to heightened intuition, psychic abilities, and spiritual awareness. It encourages exploration of the mystical and transcendent aspects in life. As far as dreams and imagination goes, this planet governs dreams, fantasy, and creativity. It inspires artistic expression and the ability to envision possibilities beyond the material world. Neptune can also represent confusion, illusion, and escapism. It may lead individuals to idealize situations or people, sometimes resulting in disillusionment. Neptune is associated with empathy, compassion, and selflessness. It can inspire to help others and engage in humanitarian efforts. Neptune influences the concept of boundaries, both in terms of emotional sensitivity and the dissolution of personal limits. This can lead to feelings of overwhelm or a sense of interconnectedness with others. So when I'm describing Neptune, look at my other book. When I'm describing Neptune as a magician, right? Like the magician card in the tarot, the magician uses the sun and the moon to control things, to control people, to control cycles, to control the flow of information, resources, everything. The magician card in the tarot has the pentacle on his thing. He has the rod. He's got the sword. He's got the cup. He's got all of the tools of the tarot at his hands. And he uses those tools to control things. It's not a relationship where you're working with the tools. It's control where you're trying to control the tools. That's what the magician does. And so these quote unquote elites are working with Neptune to control people via the cycles. The specific cycle that they like to use, besides new or dark moons and full moons, is Neptune conjunctions. When Neptune has oppositions, when Neptune has squares, these are harsh aspects. They like to exploit these aspects. As I mentioned in a previous video, today is September the 10th, and there is actually a debate happening. And the reason why this date was picked is because from September 3rd to September 9th, there was a lot of aspects with Neptune. Neptune square Mars at first, and then Neptune was conjunct something. There's just been a lot of Neptune uh, placements, aspects is what they're called. And so they wanted to wait until after those Neptune aspects to have this debate. So to me, that's a clear, I don't know how much more like clear that needs to be. So as you see here on the sheet, I made it simple. I mean, I'm going to show you guys the whole thing next, and talk about it a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about, like I said, how to use this form first, because, like I said, people will have access to this. So Neptune is where you can be psychologically manipulated by magicians using personal divination. So, what does that mean? I use the term gaslighting, but I understand that people might not know what that means. So, here I got the term psychologically manipulated. So, what would a psychological manipulation look like using Neptune? Well, let's use the last few days as an example. On September the 8th, Sunday, the NFL, in conjunction with Jay-Z Rockefeller, announced Kendrick Lamar would be headlining the Super Bowl. Well, I was going to make a video on this, and I didn't have a chance to, but I looked into the numerology of the date of the Super Bowl, and it's on 2/9/2025. Well, 2 and 9 is 11, and 11 is a master number, so you don't actually reduce that. And of course, 2025, that's a 9 year. So it's 11/9. If you reverse that, it's 9/11. So you have them on Sunday sending out a reverse 911 code using Kendrick Lamar of all people. And we know that essentially Kendrick Lamar represents the opposition to the foreigners who are LARPing in our energy. His whole song, Not Like Us, which I did a 2-hour review of, is literally like laying out line for line, frame for frame, why these people who are pretending to be uh, American blacks, and not just American blacks, real live living humans, and not demon-possessed humans, have no right to claim anything related to us as humans, as humanity, as people who are under our own power, so called, so says, and not people who are serving at the pleasure or the desire of any of these different entities. So they're using him, and of course, New Orleans is a very spiritual city with a rich background. A quote unquote hoodoo city. So they've got a real American black that they've called a 911 in the city of the land of hoodoo. Like that's what psychological manipulation is like. They're trying to sell the black people, oh, your king, your Messiah is going to be crowned at this Super Bowl, but they're having it in a hoodoo city, uh, with a reverse 911 call. Like, no, it's going to be, they're going to try to manipulate the outcomes. Now, if you remember my video about the Super Bowl that happened this year, which was the San Francisco 49ers, 49, also, well, being a 13, so that was basically the daughter, the Thaumaterga, was supposed to be crowned. They were supposed to crown her versus the Bloody Chiefs, and what did they do? They allowed the Bloody Chiefs to walk away with the win, and really messed up the Thaumaturga's crowning. And so now they're trying to, call the 911 because they're going to have to crown her. It's not optional anymore, and that's for a lot of reasons, which we'll be discussing. So that's how Neptune would be used. So usually Neptune is not going to be used on a small scale. Now it can be, we'll talk about that in a minute, but in general, when the quote unquote elites are using it, they're using it on a large scale. They're using it to influence a large group of people, not a small group of people. And the house that it's in is also relevant because the house has aspect too. So let's use me as an example. So I can be gaslit by divination as it relates to individual star power. And it's in the house related to immediate environment, communication, and learned behaviors. So people gaslight me all the time in relation to how much individual star power I have as a tarotist, as a pseudo astrologer, as a philosopher, as a even down to as a bus driver, as a mother. People gaslight me about my unique ability to get things done. They make it sound like what I'm doing is, everyone does it. Everyone can do it. People do it all the time. People do it just like me all the time. And the people who can do this, to me, uh, are magicians using personal divination. So this would be other tarot readers, other religious group leaders, pastors in churches, and church member leader people. Anybody who thinks that they uh, have some sort of magic over me. That is who does this. And that's basically how it is for everyone. Now, I said Neptune is normally on a large scale, so this would happen within a group. And for me, it typically does happen within groups. Even as young as I can remember, I had a teacher in elementary school, and I was a fast reader. Actually, I could read faster than I could move my head. And so one day I was reading and I was moving my head while I was reading, and she said, "Let me hear you read that fast." Well, I also happen to be a public speaker, and so I don't speak as fast as I read. So I began to read because I always read for clarity as a public speaker, and she told me, "Don't move your head that fast if you can't read that fast." And that was for no reason. There was no reason for her to have done that. just embarrassed me for no reason. And that's what happens. People come in, they try to use magic on me, and they try to make it seem like what I can do is not usual. So when I hear this discussion of Cat Williams reading like 3,000 books, in 4 years, I'm confused. I thought everyone did that. I was like, oh, y'all didn't actually do that too? I mean, my mother got tired of taking me to the library. I was getting 25 books a week and reading all of them by the third day. Like, I read a lot of books. And so I understood what he was talking about. That's why I was confused when I discovered this year that people don't read like that. People don't do that. I was shocked actually. And so that's the kind of, thing that happens with Neptune. Now, in a separate video, I'm going to do a brief overview of the planets and the houses so that I can try to separate this information out and that it's not so overwhelming and that people don't get confused. But this has just been a focus in on Neptune, and Neptune is all about being manipulated by magicians using personal divination. That could be any kind of personal divination: astrology, tarot, pendulums, dice, necromancy, whatever personal divination is, even religion. They can use personal divination to manipulate you. So I hope this has been a helpful coverage of Neptune. We're going to go into some more details. So peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.